Evening all, welcome to the 10th anniversary of Dawn of War. Crikey, it's been 10 years. Now, yes, the observant among you will notice I'm playing Dawn of War 2. Alright, I know. I did try, well, I actually got Dark Crusade working and I played for about sort of 20 minutes and I had the most amazing battle ever and then I realised I wasn't recording. What a knob. But I thought I'd show you some of this. Now, the reason I'm showing you, I guess, is two things really. One is, as I mentioned, Dawn of War is now officially 10 years old, which is mind-boggling because I remember playing the original Dawn of War. It was funny, I played it around Christmas, and so every Christmas since I've always remembered that I generally would play Dawn of War because it reminds me of Christmas. Terraria is the same for me. I guess I've got so used to playing Terraria around Christmas because that's usually when the new content's in, or I don't know, usually when I just pick it up again. So every year I think to myself, it's Christmas, therefore it's time to play Dawn of War and it's time to play Terraria. So I guess we're getting near Christmas. Oh my god, can't believe I said that, but we are. It's actually only 2 and a bit months away. And I thought, you know, it's such a good game. And I think it's one of these kind of, I guess, we'll try and analyse it a bit more. But the other reason I guess I'm showing it, particularly Dawn of War 2, is that games for Windows is now dead. It's gone, it's buried, it's dead. So games like this, which used to use Game for Windows and GameSpy to play, because those services are basically switched off now, you couldn't play them. So thankfully Steam has picked them up, which is just amazing. So you can log in, you can play the campaign, you can play multiplayer, Last Stand, etc. And I think really that's just a great sign of where some games are going, because really when certain game services are being switched off, because let's face it, they do, it's a profit business, and if they don't make money, they're just going to switch them off. It's quite sad to think that some games will actually disappear forever. So, you know, I'm really grateful that Steam do have the gamer's best interests at heart always. I'm a big fan of Steam. I know they do balls up in other areas, but I think in this case not so. Anyway, let's talk Dawn of War. Now, Dawn of War is a Warhammer 40k Space Marine style game. If you don't know what Warhammer 40k is, then wow, you've missed quite a lot, because pretty much it's a really good IP franchise story from Games Workshop to do with their kind of board game, or rather their, you know, tabletop gaming, let's say. Now, tabletop gaming is all but dead because of 3D printers, so really the only avenue left for them is the IP itself. So this is why games like this are really good. Now, Dawn of War originally came for, Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2 are both from a game company called Relic. Now, Relic was owned by THQ, and THQ, if you didn't know, have unfortunately folded because, well, for many reasons, possibly Star Wars Online being one of them, but unfortunately unfortunately THQ folded, and it took down with it a huge number of very good studios. Relic kind of being one of them. Technically they're still going, they're still doing a few things, I believe, but if you go to their websites and you go and check out really what their company does, it's difficult to really understand what more they're doing. So just bear that in mind, which is quite sad. Relic is a Swedish company, so I believe, and they, I think, had a quality with these games that was second to none. Literally second to none. Dawn of War was a game 10 years ago. Think about the games we were playing 10 years ago. Deus Ex, things like that. I mean, maybe a bit. Yeah, it was about 10 years ago. So, you know, that was the kind of level. And Dawn of War, the original, came along at a time when the RTS was I guess, in its kind of prime. And what it did is it took the whole concept of the RTS, real-time strategy, and it just built it into a very, very nice, but, you know, kind of interesting base building mission style game. And the original Dawn of War was basically following the escapades of the Blood Ravens, as you see here, who were a made up chapter, but they now have a huge kind of fan following, fiction, etc. And it follows the exploits of Gabriel Angelos. I'm not making this up. Literally, you know, yes, we know he's an angel. You don't need to give him the name Gabriel and Angelos. We get it. He's an angel. We get it. And basically, in the first game, you follow his kind of campaign across the stars. And it's pretty good. I mean, I've got to admit, the first one was excellent. But what I think gave the series depth, like no other, was the fact that they built expansions into this, because obviously there's such a rich IP of the universe of Warhammer 40k that they had so much to play with. So in the first one you saw orcs, you saw Eldar, you saw obviously the human space marines, and there's a whiff of Imperial Guard. But the second big expansion they did brought the Imperial Guard to the players. Now the Imperial Guard are basically, think of them almost as like kind of human lemmings. Millions of conscripts are gathered from planets and taken off the planet, the face of their home world, never to see it again. They're not allowed to return to it. And they have to go and fight wars on distant planets, and their rights, if they are successful, is that they can stay on that planet. So it's a really, the backstory is wonderful, it really is. And Dawn of War, with the second expansion, which was, I've completely forgotten what it was, basically the Imperial Guard. And the Imperial Guard were just classic troopers, and they were really good. They weren't super soldiers like the Space Marines are. They were just really quite fragile troopers. But in numbers and with their armed mechanized support, they had like a Baneblade tank, which was so big it was almost like the size of a house, basically trundling along shooting you. And I think these are really good kind of expansions of the IP, because you couldn't play like the Space Marines, who were very tough. You had to play in a different style. So I'm always grateful when content is added and it's not just a reskin. It's actually you need to find a different way to play. It's a glorious thing to see. And then they added the Dark Crusade. So obviously the first two are very linear stories. So you had pretty much a story that you played through. Then all of a sudden they just changed the whole kind of way of RTS gaming once again, by introducing effectively a campaign which you could play at your own pace. Pick your region to attack, pick your region to defend, etc. And glorious stuff. So Dark Crusade came, which brought even more races. The Tau, which I guess are kind of like the new boys on town. The Necrons, who are the ancient lords of the universe, slept for millions and millions of years, and they're now waking up because, last time they were awake, they pretty much eradicated life from the universe. Now that they've slept for so long because there was nothing else to kill, they've woken up to find the universe is filled with life again. So it's time to start munching down again. And it was just a great addition. Then and this was a really good campaign. It really worked. It was a fascinating kind of story. You could play as any one of the commanders as well. So all of a sudden you had a game which was very sandboxy, dare I say it. Then they released a fourth expansion rather, which was the Sisters of Battle appear, and also the Dark Eldar, who are kind of like crazed loonies. Look at this. Look at that artillery barrage. Isn't that amazing? I mean, this is real, Company of Heroes kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I think certainly that pedigree is shown in the other games like Companies of Hero and others that obviously they've been involved with, because I think they really have built quite an impressive thing. Anyway, so the original Dawn of War game pretty much was a heralded success, and it went on to spawn other IPs like Space Marine, which I still think is one of the best Warhammer games ever made. But that's another time. And then what happened is they went on to make Dawn of War 2. Now, when Dawn of War 2 came out, I was so disappointed with it, which is the game I'm playing now. Well, this is Chaos Rising, but it did introduce the Tyranids, and the Tyranids are a fan favourite because obviously they were quite, they were like basic, great big munching aliens pretty much, and they were really tough. So the second game, but the second game didn't feature any base building at all, which was, I guess, something I quite enjoyed back then. I didn't really understand the kind of Dota-esque style hero characters, leveling them up, putting better gear on them. I didn't get that. I didn't really understand that whole gameplay. However, having played it through multiple times since, I totally get it. In fact, I miss it in the subsequent expansions to Dawn of War 2, because obviously that spawned 2 more. Which was a real shame. The first one was Chaos Rising, which is what you see here, which I thought was an excellent addition. It just really introduced chaos, and it introduced a corruption mechanic. Now, again, for those that don't know what chaos is, chaos are the human sides of the faction, polluted by a dark kind of series of entities from another universe. Call them dark gods if you wish, but they're kind of aliens from another dimension. It sounds cheesy and corny, and it is, but it's actually done quite well. And Chaos really gave a nice twist to this, because you could become corrupted. The more powerful gear they had, the more you're likely to be corrupted by its power. So very, very nice, subtle stuff. And Chaos Rising had quite a cool campaign. I quite liked it, in fact. It made a lot of sense. It just was really quite enjoyable to play. But one of the key things I think about it was loot and leveling, and I think really what you see here is I've only got 4 characters in this, and that's all you can ever have. You can obviously have support to those 4 characters, but the reality is that once you get to the point where you become able to use the hotkeys, you understand the power-ups, it becomes a little bit World of Warcraft, Dota, etc. But once you get it, it's very satisfying. And I've got to admit, it really this kind of gameplay really excited me. I know League of Legends and Dota probably would suck me in like crazy, but I guess I'm just trying to avoid them. So this is kind of my limit with it, because I am a big fan of Warhammer IP. I think their games are brilliant, the concept's brilliant, etc. So I think after a while it got to the point where my Space Marine commander was so powerful. Every hit he does, look at this, every hit he does just annihilates enemies. It blows them up, it explodes them literally. And I think that became a big part of the game. Now they released the third and final piece of the pie, which was Dawn of War 2 Retribution, which was shit. And I think, to be honest, I was so disappointed with it, and it was shit for two reasons. Because number one, it had it was released. It was one of the first games that I remember, which was released with, if you buy it from the game, you get 2 unique items that will then be powerful items in the game. And the items they gave you for the Imperial Guard, you could use throughout the entire game, and you never died. It was like handing you a one-hit kill weapon from the start on any level, and it was stupid. It was really, really stupid. So that ruined the game, because I completed the game in about 4 hours. Less, in fact, 3 hours. I was like, at the end of it, I was like, that's never the end of it. And it was so crap. The stories started to get a bit crap, and they went back, ironically, they went back to the kind of base building unit requisition style of game that usually I liked. And I hated it, because I got so used to Dawn of War's Dota style characters, level them up, then use them. And I was really quite disturbed and saddened by this. So Retribution to me was a big thumbs down. I tried playing it again recently and I didn't like it. But look at this. I mean, we're in the battle barge now, and this is what became so fun about the game. Was I would just sit and try and work out what's the most powerful weapons. Look at the stats. I mean, look at my captain, full health, full melee damage, and this is relatively early in the game. Later on we level both of those to top, and that's it. That's all we need, because this guy's a close combat dude with a great big thunderhammer warhammer thing. And I think it became amazing when they started to move it back towards the unit requisition point. It did become a load of piss wiffle to me, because it was just, I don't enjoy it. And I think, it's kind of like they force me to go one way, then they kind of say, okay, we made a mistake, we'll go back the other way. And I think that kind of ballsed it up to me. But having said that, Dawn of War is 10 years old. You can buy it on Steam. You can buy all of them in one mega glorious pack. You'll probably even see some deals coming through this week on it. But if you're going to buy 1 or 2 games, I would buy Dawn of War Dark Crusade. That's by far the best of the first. And I think if you really were looking to get a good game, just get Dawn of War 2, just the simple one. If you don't, if it comes with Chaos Rising, great. If it doesn't, don't worry. And I think you'll have that pretty much the 2 highlights of that gaming series. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's celebrate Dawn of War 2.